So I'm certainly seeing that count of attendees count up as I open up that virtual door. That's always a good thing. I love having everyone in my webinars. My name is Ricardo. Good to have you aboard with me. I certainly appreciate you carving out some time and spending it with me for today's webinar, A Teacher's Guide to Educating over Zoom. I'm located in Oakland, California. It's a beautiful day here in the Bay Area. I hope it's the same for you. We'll be getting started in about 1 more minute here, just allowing plenty of time to have others click on that join webinar link and come on aboard. All right, so I will mention a couple of things as people are coming in to the webinar. We're slated for 45 minutes in today's webinar. We are using Zoom's webinar platform in order to deliver today's session to you. It's a little different, of course, comparing it to Zoom meetings, right? We're going to be talking about Zoom meetings throughout the entire session today, but the webinar platform is aimed at having large-scale attendees, right? You can have 10, 15, 20,000 people, even 50,000 people in an online webinar with this respective platform. So of course, I don't anticipate that amount of people to come into this respective webinar. That would be amazing. But nonetheless, we tend to use our own webinar platform for our webinars throughout the weeks. So with that being said, I want to introduce you to the Q&A panel. This is a panel that is exclusive to the webinar platform. You're noticing a Q&A option at the bottom of your screen. If you click on that, anytime throughout the session, if you want me to take a look at that, I will answer as many questions as I can later, right? I don't necessarily answer them live as I'm presenting, but I'll definitely take a pause as we get close to concluding and then just kind of do a free-for-all, answer as many questions as I possibly can. So throughout the session, if there's something that I may not necessarily be addressing through that webinar and you really need that answer, please send it my way. I will do my absolute best to see if I can answer as many as I possibly can. So wanted to point that out for you, okay? Let's go ahead and get started. It looks like we are officially ready to begin. So again, my name is Ricardo. Thanks so much for joining me in today's webinar. I really appreciate your time here. Let's make the most of it, all right? So I have an agenda set up for us today. We're going to be going through the basics. That's going to be consisting of the desktop application as well as meeting settings. Those two aspects of the webinar really help set the tone for knowing how to schedule classes in office hours. It's important for you to know how to enable and disable features at the settings level that ultimately have relevance into your live sessions, right? We're going to be talking about how, when you host a meeting, what features are available for you in order to have control of the session, but at the same time, the ability to produce interactivity within your sessions, right? I'll be providing to you in your chat panel resources. So these are going to be links that are going to be provided to you. And then finally, we'll take a look at Q&A. This respective session is not being recorded. The reason being is I provide this webinar every single day. You'll be provided with the most recent recording, which was just yesterday, and that will be provided to you in a follow-up email. The only thing that is unique about these webinars that I provide is the Q&A section towards the end of the webinar, okay? So with that being said, let's go and get started, okay? So want to talk about the desktop application, where you get this application along with other plugins. As you can see in this screenshot that I have here, we do have a plugin for you for Outlook. If you prefer to schedule meetings from Outlook or you like scheduling your sessions from Google Calendar, that's totally fine. We do have plugins for those respective applications. At the Download Center page, which is zoom.us/download, you're going to also be able to download our desktop client. I'm going to showcase to you what this platform is able to do for you. So the current version is 5.2. When you get that downloaded and installed onto your computer system, like any application that we have at our desktop, right, it's going to be an application icon. So we click on that, and then we have two immediate options to select from. We could instantly join a meeting, provided that, of course, we have that join information that has been provided to us by the host. Or, of course, we could sign in, and that allows us to use the desktop application as a Zoom account user, right? So we would be prompted to enter our email address and password. Of course, there's different methods of signing in as well. If you are part of an organization that is using, say, Okta, single sign-on options, right? You can sign in with single sign-on capabilities, signing in with your Google account or your Facebook account. Either way, when we are logged into the account, it's going to look just like this, with the exception of the Zoom phone icon or option. This is an upgrade or an add-on into your licensed account. So the application, the desktop application, starts off from home, right? At home, we have 4 icons that allow us to start an instant meeting. I could join a meeting as a participant. I could certainly schedule from here. So right off the bat, we can schedule from our online accounts. We can schedule from this application. We could schedule from Outlook or Google Calendar. These 2 options, new meeting and share screen, these will both start instant meetings for me. But the difference on this one is I get to choose to share my screen, right? It would start a meeting for me and be sharing my screen, most likely my desktop at that stage, as I fire up that instant meeting. Over to the right, I have a very simple calendar view indicating to me what is my next upcoming meeting, may it be a Zoom-based session or not. Down here on the bottom of this calendar would be a link that says view today's upcoming meeting. So if I have several meetings throughout the day, I click on that and it's going to take me directly to this section right here called meetings. So that would give me a nice listing of every meeting that I have on my calendar for the day, as well as recorded meetings that I have produced from the past, right? So I have a split screen. I can look at what's coming up for the day or show me my recorded meetings that I've produced. Contacts allows me to, of course, add contacts to this application. They must be using the application in order for us to correspond with each other, right? So naturally here at Zoom, we're using this internally, but I also have the ability to add external contacts, colleagues that are within my network, right, that I want to or like to remain in communication with. Simply put, they're subscribers of Zoom as well. So long as I know the email address that they're using, they would provide that to me. Hey, I'd like to add you as a contact. What's the email address that you use when you log into Zoom? And when they give that to me, I add them as a contact so that I could correspond with them with the chat feature. So this application not only just allows me to be able to schedule meetings or join meetings or look at my upcoming meetings, but I have a chat capability in this application. This is a really nice option, right? Because we know that we may not, probably all of us right now are working from home, right, remotely. So I don't have a desk phone. That is not something that I have here at home. And I rarely use my cell phone to conduct business. And the reason being is I'm using our desktop application to communicate, may it be chat or the phone option. So the phone option is a soft-based phone as if it were on my desk, but it's integrated into this application here. So I can make inbound, outbound phone calls. I have a voicemail. Everything that I need from a desktop phone is simply integrated into this application. But at a higher level, as an organization, organizations are subscribing and adding Zoom Phone for those occasions, right, where they want to move away from desktop hardware phones and at the same time have a much more streamlined approach from a management aspect to manage a full-scale phone system as people are working remotely. This chat option, let me come back to chat. I just want to talk about this very quickly. And of course, I can correspond with people and use that classic chat approach, right? But the cool thing about our chat feature is we can escalate that chat message into a Zoom meeting. So if I'm having a message going back and forth with a colleague and we want to have a much more collaborative experience, one of us is going to make that call and say, hey, let's just go into an online Zoom meeting where we can look at contents instead of transferring files back and forth. So it's only a matter of time before we are always ending up in a Zoom meeting, right? So that's the cool thing about chat. That same experience is available in Zoom Phone. So if I'm on a phone call with a colleague or a business partner, and I'm just simply talking with them, right? One of us can make that judgment call and say, hey, let's go into an online Zoom meeting. In the old world, I would have to hang up and say, okay, cool, let me schedule up a meeting for you. I'll send out an invite and wait for it, and then I'll be in that meeting, right? With Zoom Phone or chat, there's a one-click option, take it into a Zoom meeting right away, and we're in that Zoom meeting, right? So really nice options. And when you think about it, everything is within this application for me. So as instructors, something to at least consider is you could use chat in the spirit of your one-on-ones with students, right? Or you can simply schedule your one-on-ones with students from a schedule approach. If you happen to be on a chat, if students are chatting with you in the desktop application, you always have the ability to, hey, let's go into an online meeting and take it to that next collaborative level. Same thing with Zoom Phone. So I'll make sure that I provide a link for you for Zoom Phone in case any one of you are interested in this add-on feature. Want to talk about hovering over my profile image, and when I click on it, it's going to give me this menu bar. I can get access into the application settings. I can set statuses. May I be available or do not disturb, or I'm currently away, right? I can manage my own personal profile. This is going to take me into my online Zoom account. We have a link here for you to try top features that we're recommending for you. This is going to branch you off into the support site, support.zoom.us. If you haven't bookmarked our support site, please do so. It's an amazing resource that I'm sure you'll be leveraging. If you happen to be using the latest, or I should say, if you're using this desktop application and you're not sure what is the latest version, it's 5.2. If you click on this option here, check for updates, you'll be prompted to upgrade if you are in fact on an older version of the client. Okay, this will switch you to a portrait view. It simply gives you a much more compact version of the desktop application. And then of course, if you happen to have several accounts, you can switch out to and log into a different account, or simply sign out of the application when you're not necessarily using it. Internally, we stay on this application all day long. I have this application installed onto my phone as well. So if I'm after hours needing to get in touch with someone, or someone's asking for some insight on anything, I'm part of several different chat channels. I always have the ability at my discretion to respond and provide insight if need be. Okay, so it's a great way to just simply stay in communication and at the same time have all of those Zoom capabilities available for me at the touch of a click. Okay, want to talk about the application settings. I do recommend, if you do get this downloaded and installed, something that you want to start using for yourself, any application that we use throughout the day, may it be Instagram, right, Facebook, Twitter, or work-based applications. Every application has settings, right? And you have the ability to fine tune the application to have it operate for you as best as it possibly can. So same thing here. You definitely want to configure your personal settings for the application. Of course, if you're on a Mac, you have access to this application. If you're on a PC, same thing. The features are almost identical. Want to talk about the video preferences from within this desktop application, right? One of the backbones, if you will, of a Zoom experience is being on video. So when you come into the video section of the desktop application, this is going to detect what camera or cameras are connected to your computer system. So in my scenario, I have two cameras. I have the camera that I'm looking at right now into your webinar, right? And then I have a built-in camera on my laptop. So in this drop menu, I would be able to select which camera do I want to use when I'm in my Zoom meetings. And then I simply tailor up that video preference for myself. I can touch up my appearance, really nice, very subtle filter option, touches up my appearance when I'm broadcasting video. I can adjust for low light manually or automatically. If it's set to manual, you get to use this toggle bar to increase or decrease that adjustment. Same thing with touching up your appearance. There's also some meeting options. So when you are going to be on video in a Zoom meeting, you have check boxes that you can turn on or off at will, right? One of my personal favorites is this one right here. Turn off my video when joining a meeting. I don't like to immediately be on video when I come into a session. May I even be the host or simply a participant of the meeting? Reason being is I want to make sure, sometimes I forget what virtual background am I using. So I want to be off video first, and then I would be able to look into my virtual background. Maybe I want to make sure that I'm wearing the right shirt or sweater or whatever, right? It all depends on the type of session that I'm joining. So I don't like to be on video right away. And then when I'm ready to go, I just start to broadcast myself, right? Another option that I select for myself is this guy right here. Display up to 49 participants per screen in gallery view. So this means it would show to me 49 people that are broadcasting themselves on video anytime in a Zoom meeting, right? So I get to see 49 people per page in my Zoom meeting. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as we look into the Zoom meeting experience and kind of dissect what we see when we're first joining a session. But just wanted to point out some settings for yourself, right? You have the ability to come into your own desktop application and fine tune things as you'd like. I want to talk about the audio settings. This is where you would be able to configure the speakers and the microphones for your Zoom meetings. Speakers meaning how do you want audio? How do you want to hear audio when you're in a Zoom meeting, right? How are you hearing me right now? Some of you might be listening to me on a phone call. Maybe you've called into this session, whereas some of you might be listening to me via your computer system. And if you're using a headset, you're probably listening to me on a headset. All of that is configured from this drop menu here. How do you want to listen to people in a Zoom meeting? When you want to speak into the session, what is going to be that method of audio into the session? What microphone is going to be used? Is it your headset microphone? Is it the built-in microphone on your laptop? Some people love to use desktop microphones because they also podcast on the side, or they have a YouTube channel. So they're set to go, right? And they're just simply coming into this area and selecting what microphone, what speakers do I want to be using when I'm in a Zoom meeting. One other option that I personally like to have enabled in my settings is this one right here: mute my microphone when joining a meeting. So technically, when I join a meeting, may I be, again, the host or presenter, I'm coming in without video being enabled for myself, and then I'm coming in muted, right? And then when I'm ready to, I will unmute, want to make sure that my audio is good to go. Maybe because I'm working from home, my daughter might be listening to music here in the kitchen just a little too loudly, right? So I don't want to disrupt, or I want to be mindful as I come in as a participant of an online session. So little things like that, right? So take care of your settings personally and get those configured to your liking. I'm not going to go through every single line item here. Of course, I prefer that you self-discover what's available for you from within this application. Want to talk about the background feature? A lot of people are interested in this option. As I mentioned, I'm working from my kitchen, right? So this is like the ideal area, believe it or not, for me personally, in how it is able to have me set up and operate throughout the day. So I'm working from the breakfast nook area in my kitchen, okay? But I'm using a virtual background to disguise that because working from the breakfast nook area of my kitchen is not the most coolest thing to be displaying behind me, to be quite transparent. So thankfully, we have this virtual background option, right? So how does it work? One, I go online and I find images that I want to have as my virtual background. In this case, I came across a really cool living room image that I found, I believe, on Wallpaper, a magazine that I look at from time to time, an online magazine all about architecture and all this stuff, right? And I just download images, maybe something like a modern living room, or a cafe from around the world, or something scenic like the Golden Gate Bridge and so on, right? Whatever you want to have as your virtual background, it's just an image. And then when you come into this feature here, you're going to immediately see yourself on video. And then we provide to you these images out of the box. So the Golden Gate Bridge, grass image, planet Earth, a beach image, and then the Northern Lights, right? This is actually an animated, so you can see the image here. It is animated. It is an M3A video, I believe. Might be wrong on that, but it's basically a looped video. So you can have images, or you can have looped M4A files. It's just like a 3-second looped video. Okay, so you're going to click on this plus option here, and that allows you to browse on your computer, find the images that you want to have added to your collection here, and you just click on that image and it will pop up behind you. Now, one technical detail that I want to make sure that I address here is if you find yourself kind of washing or blending into that image, you'll need to get yourself a green screen or a blue screen. And it is literally a screen that would be placed behind you. You could find these on Amazon, or if you just Google blue screen, green screen, you'll get those back. They're mainly used for video production, right? But the way that this works is the image would cancel out your background so that, or I'm sorry, the green screen or blue screen would cancel out your background so that this image, or whatever image you want to have as your virtual background, is able to be fully superimposed over that green screen or blue screen, right? So that's how this technical feature works. You'll simply need to check this box here. I have a green screen, so that the feature is able to be adjusted. Your camera will be able to detect green or blue in your background, and then be able to perfectly allow this image to be behind you, and you're not washing or blending into that image. Okay, so wanted to move on. One subtle thing I want to talk about, a new feature that we released last week in 5.2, this nice, cool, fun feature. I think it helps break the ice and just makes things fun. I used it on Friday in my EDU webinar. And there's a lot of cool little options in here, right? There's a beret, there's an effect like you're in a theater. You would be on video right over here. Play with these. It's just a nice way to, especially if you're having a Zoom session with family or friends, or if you want to lighten it up for your students, go for it. I think it's a cool thing to just humanize from time to time the sessions, right, as best as possible. So just wanted to talk about video filters. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about meeting settings, and then we're going to get into the details of scheduling a session. Okay, so we're not going to go through every single setting inside of an account. Again, I want you to self-discover, just pointing out where they're located for you. So in order to get into your settings, of course, you need to log in your online Zoom account. So zoom.us, you're going to go out to my account, and then you're going to log into your account. When you get into your account, take care of your profile. So again, much like any application that we use, right? Most days, at least to my knowledge, most applications that we're using online have a profile section for you where you can enter your name and your credentials and all that good stuff, phone numbers, whatever, right? Same thing here. You're able to manage your own personal profile. When you're not on video, if you have an image added to your profile here, that image is going to substitute your live video broadcast. So for whatever reason, if you don't want to be on video for that day, not an issue, right? Just stop video and then know that this is going to be your default image that will be pulled into your Zoom meeting, okay? Want to talk about settings, all right? So down here on the bottom is your settings for the account. When we go into settings will provide to me access to meeting settings, access to recording settings, access to telephone settings. Okay, so inside of meeting settings, we have 6 sections here. Sounds like a lot, and the page has, it's actually, this one page has all of these sections here for you. So eventually you'll land in security. That's actually the first thing that you'll see, right? And as you keep scrolling, you're going to land in schedule a meeting settings area, and so on and so on. So when we talk about security, a form of security is enabling the waiting room for you. Starting September 27th, this feature will be enabled into your account by default, meaning it will always be on. So if that's something that, hey, that's cool, thank you, Zoom, but I want to turn it off and I will turn it on when I want it to be used, no problem, right? But going forward, this will be enabled. And take a look at the description here in case this is a completely new feature for you. When participants join a meeting, place them in a waiting room and require the host to admit them individually. You can also admit them as an entire group. Enabling the waiting room automatically disables the setting for allowing participants to join before host. So we'll talk a little bit more about the waiting room. In this scenario here, I've simply enabled it for my sessions. Another thing that I've enabled in my account is requiring a passcode when scheduling a new meeting. So Zoom will auto-generate a passcode for me so that it is unique. And then every time I send out an invitation for people to join my meeting, of course, you're going to be entering your name and your last name and your email address. You must know the password to come on in, right? Another form of security is setting up registration. Registration is only available for licensed users, but other people definitely turn on the waiting room. The waiting room will simply hold people before they can actually join fully the Zoom meeting. So people are using the waiting rooms in the form of security and at the same time actually taking attendance. As students join the session, they're landing in the waiting room first. And teacher or instructor takes roll from there and then lets people into the session. Okay, schedule meeting settings. In this scenario, the host video and participants video has been enabled. So when we come into the Zoom meeting, we're immediately going to be on video. If I have my desktop application settings set to do not let me be on video as I start or join a session, then this will not supersede that feature, right? Simply put, if I were to disable this, this does not mean that I'm stripping the video feature away from us. It just means we're not going to be on video when we come on into the session right away, right? Same thing with audio type. Audio type in this webinar, I've noticed that a lot of you have called in, right? Or you've received a call back. It's all a matter of preference. Or some people have, of course, connected via computer audio. So in my scenario here, I provide both options, whereas, of course, you can say, I only want to provide telephone, or I only want people to be connecting via computer audio. So it's a matter of preference. Of course, be mindful of your respective audience. Maybe they don't have a telephone, so they would not be able to call in if that's all you're selecting, right? So you want to maybe think about opening it up just a little further. Okay, inside of the in-meeting basic settings, want to talk about chat very quickly. In this scenario, the chat panel is enabled. I can allow, if I check this box here, it would prevent participants from saving chat. I'm a previous instructor. Before joining Zoom's marketing team, I taught courses to 18 to 24-year-olds. And I never minded that this feature was disabled, right? I had no issue with students saving what took place in chat. What takes place in chat could be me sending you links or other students sending really cool links that they've come across that they feel could help a fellow student. Great, right? So this would not allow them to save what's taking place in chat. However, in my previous life, I did have this feature disabled, which is private chat. So I did not allow students to privately chat with each other in my online courses. And the reason being is, as you can imagine, it's a distractor, right? I need all eyes onto the course material that we are providing and that we're rolling through in order to have a successful session, a successful week, and that you're getting graded and so on, right? So if I can prevent any form of features that, cool, I love it, but I'm not going to use it. That's the beauty of me being a host of my account, is that I can turn things on or off, right? Naturally, in your courses, you can determine, hey, I might want to use private chat because I do want students to be able to help each other while I'm continuing to present. If someone has a question, someone else can say, hey, did you have a question regarding XYZ? I can help you, right? I think if you set the tone as the instructor to announce to your students, hey, we have private chat enabled, please don't abuse it. Please make sure that you're being mindful and helping your fellow colleagues or students out when they need it. Otherwise, please restrict using chat, or please refrain from using private chat as I am presenting. If you set those tones, I do personally believe that students, depending on their age, right, will abide by that. Common question I get is, okay, let's just say I turn on private chat. Does Ricardo see Jerry and Todd having a private conversation? No, it is private. So only they see that messaging going back and forth with each other. And at any time live in the session, I could easily just turn it off, right? So that's not an issue. Let's move on, right? I can spend more and more time on just one feature. Don't have that time. All right, so let's talk about breakout rooms. I love this feature. I used it almost every day. This allows me to, as the instructor, send my students into a sub Zoom meeting within our main session. Sounds a little complicated, but it's really not. The best analogy I like to use in this scenario is, if you're not familiar with breakout rooms in an online environment, right? If we were all in class together and I had, say, 6 extra smaller classrooms that I used to send and split my 30 students up and say, okay, 5 of you go in room number 1, and here's your assignment. And room number 1 is a smaller version of the main classroom. You have a whiteboard in there. You have all the tools that you'll need to collaborate with each other, right? From our Zoom meeting, same thing, in an in-person environment, right? And then I have another 5 students go to the next room and the next room, and everyone's working and having fun and collaborating. Of course, I can easily go into those rooms and observe and see how everyone's doing. Does anyone need any help? Cool, move on to the next room and the next room and the next room, right? That is the same analogy in an online environment. So a breakout room allows me to send my students and say, go out and collaborate. We're still part of our main session together, but they're branching off into a smaller Zoom breakout room, right? And then I can go into those rooms and see how they're doing. They will still be on video, they're still on audio, they're still connected. But breakout room number 1 and breakout room number 4 never hear each other. They're just in their own sub meetings within the main meeting. Really cool, right? I'll talk about that a little later, but I want to keep us moving in the spirit of time. This is where you would turn this feature on. Breakout rooms is available for all of you. So regardless of the type of subscription that you are on, you have access to this feature. Just come in your settings, turn it on, okay? Let's keep moving. I want to talk about recording settings really quickly, and then we'll move into the scheduling piece. So in recording settings, there's 2 methods to record a Zoom meeting. If you're on a free subscription, then you only have access to the local recording option. This means you're going to save that meeting as you're recording it. It's being saved and produced directly to your computer system. Where you choose to save that file or where it's being produced is you'll get to choose where you want it to be saved, right? That's a local recording. That's an MP4 file. When you record locally, at that stage, you're probably wondering, okay, I have a file sitting on my desk. It's a course. How do I provide this course to my students, my audience? You'll need to get that to the cloud somehow. So in my previous life, I had a YouTube channel. I would upload my courses to my YouTube channel. All of my students come day one, of course, you must subscribe to this channel, right? Login credentials to all these different things like day one yesterday here in the Bay Area for a lot of students. They probably went through a lot of step-by-step on here's your resources to do this and that. Same thing in my previous life. So students were required to subscribe to my YouTube channel because I recorded classes. If a student missed a course, no worries. You can go to the YouTube channel and watch and catch up, right? So if it wasn't YouTube, some students or some instructors, I should say, would upload their courses to Google Cloud, to a Google Drive or Dropbox, what have you, right? Any type of online storage directory that will produce for them a link to the file. And then, of course, they provide the file to the students via email or however they want to provide it. So either way, you're needing to kind of manage that MP4 file independently, right? The second option is cloud-based recording. So cloud-based recording kind of bypasses me having to upload a file at all. What's cool about cloud recording, one, I get 1 gig worth of storage provided to me by Zoom. And two, when I record a session, it's being recorded right over here to this recordings area of my account. So when a cloud-based recording is produced, each file that is, each recording, right, has its own settings. I could password protect a course or courses. I can have them expire so that they're only able to be played for a week or a month. And then after that, no more. The link is dead and you can't play it back anymore, right? I can prevent people from downloading. So it gives me a downloadable link. If I want to give this to students and say, hey, download the recording, you can play it back on your computer instead of watching it online. Cool, right? So nice features available for me. But again, this is for licensed users only. So there's cloud recording. It has its own settings. And then I'll have you personally self-discover if you do have access to recording settings for the cloud, just come in here and take care of those options, okay? Let's get into scheduling classes and office hours. Okay, so we're gonna remain in this account here from the presentation, right? In order to schedule a meeting, first things first is we wanna click on the meeting section right over here. Then when we go in there, we can see to the right, we have a nice directory taking care of us, right? It's showing us upcoming meetings, previous meetings, personal meeting room, meeting templates. I can get training. If I've deleted a meeting, it's going to show me to the far right, recently deleted. This is going to show me on the bottom meetings that I've scheduled. So this is a recurring session, right? And we'll say October 1st, when I'm ready to start this meeting, I just come into my account, go to meetings, and then my directory of upcoming meetings is shown to me at first, and I click start. Meeting is now officially live. If I need to edit the meeting, I'm going to click on the link. And then as I click on the link, it's going to show me the scheduled meeting with an edit option. I click on edit, and now I'm editing the previously scheduled meeting. And of course, as you can imagine, this wonderful button will have me schedule a new meeting. So I'm going to show you how I set up that recurring course, right? So first things first, you need to come up with a topic, right? In my case, for the spirit of example, intro to computer applications with a nice, simple description. When you schedule a meeting, at the bottom of the scheduling process, you always have the ability to save that meeting as a template so that you could select a template. So you don't technically have to fill in these blanks. If you find, hey, I already teach this course, I just need to use it as a template and fine tune the topic, the description, and so on. Save me some time, right? So you could select from a template. The course is going to start on October 1st at 10 o'clock in the morning. It is a 45-minute session in Pacific time. Next piece. Right underneath the time zone would be the recurring options. So in my case, for the sake of example here, I set it up to be a weekly course, meaning I teach this Monday through Friday. It repeats once a week, right? So I get breathing room on Saturdays and Sundays, thankfully. And then the course, as far as it being an introduction course, has an expiration date. I'm only going to be teaching this class for 6 weeks. And then after that, another course will begin. But whatever that is, I'll determine, right? So I have 2 possible end dates. It could be by a calendar time frame or after so many occurrences. If a couple of technical details here, if I would have set this to a daily course, it would repeat once a day. I don't get to pick what days does this course happen. It would technically be 7 days a week. That's why I chose weekly. So my options are daily, weekly, monthly, or anytime. Anytime means just get this on the calendar and I can fire up this session anytime I want without it being on a date, and then invite people to join this session, right? So in a kind of an scheduled impromptu meeting, right? Underneath the next piece of the scheduling template would be registration. Now, this is only available for licensed users. So if I want to require registration, I simply check the box, and then I have 3 radio options, I should say, to select from. There's my passcode. So Zoom is generating this password for me, or I should say passcode. If I don't want this passcode for whatever reason, I can delete it and then come up with my own numerical passcode, or it could be alphanumeric. I'm enabling the waiting room, and then we're going to be using video, right? So video will be available for the host as well as participants. We're going to be using telephone and computer audio. So people have the choice of calling in, getting a call back, or connecting via voice over IP. As I get close to finalizing the scheduling, it's really simple, right? There's really no kind of stop in your tracks and what do I do here? It's really just nice and clean and simple. My meeting options. So remember, if I have that waiting room enabled, I cannot use this feature. If I don't have the waiting room enabled and I check this box, this allows my students to join the session, in this scenario, 5 minutes early before I'm officially there. And they're literally in that meeting, the Zoom meeting, right? So if you don't want that to take place, then definitely set the waiting room up and they're just kind of in a holding state until you let them in. This can be set up to be up to 15 minutes as an early bird. Mute participants upon entry, pretty self-explanatory, right? And then only authenticated users can join. Simply means you must be someone internal. You have to have an account, or you have to have the same domain as me, at zoom.us, at xyz.edu, xyz.org. So technically, it's mainly used for internal purposes. Breakout room pre-assignment. If I want to create my rooms in advance, I can certainly do so by clicking on Create Rooms. Window pops up for me, and I get to create the rooms. I can have a total of 50 breakout rooms in my Zoom meeting. I've never used that many. I've only ever used the max, about 6, right? And then 5 to 6 students per breakout room. But this allows you to create the rooms in advance. So really nice option there for you. And if you don't do this, you can actually create the rooms live in the session, of course. If you want to record your meeting, checking this box will, as soon as you start your meeting, the meeting begins to record for you. If you don't check this box, then you can manually click on the record button live in the session. Alternative hosts means someone internal, much like an authenticated user. You have to have an account. This would be, hey, I'm not going to be able to teach this class, but I want someone internally to start it for me and actually be a substitute and teach it. So I don't want just anyone to teach it. It must be someone internal, right? So an alternative host would be able to start that meeting on my behalf. It is being hosted from within my account. So they would get an invitation to be able to start that meeting as an alternative host. Language interpretation is certainly an option for me. If you want more feature, or I should say insight into this feature, definitely research it from our support site. Once I click save, the meeting is officially scheduled. Now, this is what it would look like, right? So I'm going to fast forward one more, and I'll come back to this stuff, right? So this would be a fully scheduled meeting right here. But I want to go back because I just want to show you that if you have a license account, then you technically have the bottom piece of the scheduled meeting, and that would be kind of what I tend to call part B. So this is part B right over here. So at the bottom of the scheduled meeting is registration, email settings, branding, poll, and live streaming. Registration is because I check that box, this section allows me to manage the registration criteria, right? I could see how many people have registered, if I want people to be automatically approved, or do I want to manually approve registrations? Do I want to have an email sent to me every single time someone registers? I can manage all of that by simply clicking on Edit. Email settings allows me to customize the settings of emails that go out to registrants upon registering or getting their confirmation post-registration, right? So I can take care of email settings from this area. Branding allows me to customize the registration form. I can add my own company logo to the header section of the registration form, and then just kind of tailor, right, that registration look, the page. Polling allows me to, of course, use these in the spirit of, check your knowledge, or simply gauging, polling my attendees on something that we're talking about as a topic. So how do I create a poll? In this case, you can see that I've created a poll in advance. Describe your knowledge of computer applications. I would provide this poll to my attendees. So let me show you how I created it. I simply click on add, and then this poll window pops up for me. This is all part of like part B of scheduling, right? For those licensed users. I come up with a title of the poll. So there's my title. There's the question. It's only a one question poll. How comfortable are you with computer applications? And I set it up to be single choice. You can select either you're a novice, you're intermediate, advanced. I can set up a home network. I could administer a company network, right? So I'm gauging my attendees or my students, say day one of class, October 1st, right? I'd probably throw this poll out to them right at the beginning and kind of gauge what's your level of comfortableness, or comfort, I should say, with computer applications, right? And that helps me gauge, okay, cool. I know who I'm working with here. I could certainly have this question posed in the registration form as a custom question to understand, most of the people that are coming to this class are novices and somewhat intermediates. I'm not going to allow someone who's advanced or can set up a home network or administer a company network to take this introduction to computer applications, right? It's above or way past your expertise. I could use you as help. All right, I click on save, and then notice a couple things. So I can only have 10 questions in a poll. I should say, I take that back. I apologize. 10 answers to a question. Okay. I can have 25 polls in my session if I need that many. To create another question, I simply click add a question, and then simply rinse and repeat, if you will. Right. So polling is a really cool feature, but again, it's only available for licensed users. Live streaming allows me to live stream the session over to YouTube or Facebook, right? So that's an option for me when I'm using a licensed account. So again, fully scheduled meeting. Registration link is down here on the bottom, and then I have the ability to also copy the invitation, maybe paste it into Word or Google Docs, and then tailor that invitation to register, and then personalize the emails that go out, right, to potential registrants, or simply take the link and post it into a registration site that my organization provides, something along those lines, right? All right, now it's time. Let's just say, okay, we get the scheduling logistics down. That's fine. I'll practice with that, right, Ricardo? What about the controls that are available for me within a Zoom meeting? I do see your questions coming in. There's a lot of them coming in. So just want to forewarn you, I probably won't be able to answer every single one of those, but I'll just randomly pick some. All right, thanks for sending those my way. All right, let's talk about host controls. All right, so when we are in a Zoom meeting, this is what it's going to look like, with the exception of the wonderful people on video, right? So let's break things down here. We have the ability for ourselves to mute. We can start or stop our own video. The arrow up options here allow me to get access to my audio options. I can get access to my video options. So always take care of these, or at least click on them in case you need to change to a different microphone, right? So if you want to say, oh, I'm not using the right microphone, or I didn't charge my headset last night, I need to use my built-in laptop microphone, then yeah, you could select from the microphone area here, speakers here. You could test your speakers and microphone. You can switch to a phone if you need to, or get right into your audio settings and fine-tune things from there. Same thing with video options as well. Right, there's my option to choose a virtual background. So before I'm on video, I usually would choose this option for myself. Change it up if need be. Okay, over on the bottom, I have all of the icons that allow me to manage my Zoom meeting. We have reactions. So some new reactions have been released as of last week. So just wanted to provide you with a nice sample of what those look like here. To the bottom right, the host is able to end the meeting. Participants leave meeting. To the top right, I have viewing options. So what we're looking at right here is what's called speaker view. Speaker view means when or as Kit is speaking, he's the one that's being displayed in the forefront here, right? Whereas Bob, they're on video. Bob's on video. This conference room is on video. So is Karamo, but they're not speaking. So as, say, the conference room starts to speak, they're going to be displayed on video. So it basically toggles back and forth and shows who is speaking at that time. Gallery view, a little different. So gallery view is going to give me a gallery of everyone who is on video. And as they speak, they're all speaking at once, for example, and their videos are actually highlighted. The borders of them are highlighted in, I believe, like a green, lime green, to just indicate that person or people are speaking at that time. So this is gallery view, speaker view, and you can switch those views independently by clicking on these options to the top right of your screen. Okay, let's keep moving here. I'm running a little short on time. I want to be mindful of that. Talk about manually recording your sessions at the bottom of your Zoom meeting. So what's also happening in this session is nothing is being shared. No content is being shared, just people on video at that point, right? If I click on record, I get the option to choose cloud or local recording. Whatever I select, it immediately starts to record. And of course, while recording, I can pause or stop my recording. Security, very important icon for you to utilize throughout the session. You may not necessarily use it all that much, but just know what's available for you in here. You can always lock your meeting. You can turn on or turn off the waiting room. You can allow participants to share their screens, chat, rename themselves, annotate on content with you, remove a participant if you need to, and you can certainly report a participant to Zoom's trust and security team. So security is going to really help you, manage the session at any point. Me as an instructor back in my previous life, as soon as I started my Zoom meeting, I would come into security and I would disable this option here, share screen. And this basically disables this button for students. But come Friday, every student, I would randomly pick 5 students. So they knew, come Friday, I'm going to randomly pick you to present an assignment to us, right? And that was something that they were assigned early in the week, and they just never knew who was going to be selected. Once I selected those people, I'd come into security, turn on share screen, and then I would say, okay, Jane, go ahead and start presenting your content. And they'd click on share screen and present material to us, right? Which leads us to the sharing capability. So how do I share content, right? When I click on share, this window is going to pop up for me, and only I see this window, so not my students, right? Let me explain what we're seeing here. So number one, I can immediately take you out to my desktop and share anything I want to open from there. So a lot of people tend to start off sharing material in that manner. Not a problem. You can share a whiteboard, and it's going to be just a blank screen with your annotation options. They will be enabled right away. And then you can use the annotation options to annotate on top of your virtual whiteboard. And so could students. They can interact with you. I can share content from an iPhone or an iPad, so long as it's connected via a cable connection or AirPlay. What's happening here is I have different browsers open. So I have 2 Chrome browsers. I have a notepad opened. I have a presentation. I have a directory, and then a screenshot, an image, right? So let's just say that I wanted to share PowerPoint. I have to have PowerPoint up and running at that point on my computer. So if this presentation is not open, I'm never going to see that presentation as an option to select from. So number one, make sure you're opening up the applications that you intend to have shared in your meeting. 2, let's just say I want to share something from YouTube, right? So in this scenario here, I went to our YouTube channel and I want to share a video with you. Before I select this video, I need to check this box right here, share computer sound. And then I would double click on the YouTube video. It would appear for everyone, and I could take it to a full screen or theater mode, and then give it a couple of seconds. And then when I'm ready to play it back, I simply press play, and everyone is listening and watching that video. Because this box is checked, they're able to hear the audio of that video. If this box is not checked, they're going to see the video, but they're never going to hear it. And the reason being is this browser is on my computer, right? So when I play this video back, I'm the only one that's able to listen to it. If I check this, then people are able to hear it as well, right? So you want to make sure when it comes to anything that you intend for people to hear, you have to check this box here, share computer sound, right? Let's move on to the next option. In the advanced area up at top, if I click on that, I can share my PowerPoint as a virtual background. This is currently in beta. Give it a shot. It's a really cool thing. It actually, your Your actual presentation will be your background. Really cool. And then you'll be on video on top of your presentation, much like I am right now, but you're actually laid into the presentation. So it's kind of like that weathercast approach. Really cool, but currently in beta. Have fun with it. All right, I can share a portion of my screen. I can share just audio with you. So maybe something like a podcast clip that I want students to listen to. Content from a second camera. And then last but not least, if I want to tap into any one of these online storage directories, I certainly can. Okay, so that's my method of sharing. When I am sharing a whiteboard, my desktop, or an application, or I took us, in this case, the application would be a browser, right? So we're visiting a website. This floating tray is always there for me, right? Because we're still in our Zoom meeting, but now we're sharing something. What happens to those icons that were at the bottom of the screen? Well, now they're in a floating tray at the top of your screen. So right now, mine are right over here, but I only see my own, right? So anytime I want to say stop video or mute myself or turn on my annotation options or go to share and choose a whiteboard like I'm going to do right now. So let's do that. I'm going to click new share. I'm going to choose a whiteboard. There's a whiteboard. So so what happens immediately is my annotation tools have been enabled. Might as well just demo this in real time, right? And I could annotate on top of the whiteboard. So I could use text. And as soon as I'm done typing and I click away from my text, you get to see what I've typed. I could use a spotlighter. So I could use something like that. I could change the spotlight to a different option. Let me change that for myself. I could use stamps. So the heart is a stamp. I could use drawing options, right? So I could do this on a whiteboard. I could do this on an application that I'm sharing with you, right? So this is a perfect example of the annotations. And then I can easily clear them out using a trash can option. I can clear all of my drawings, close the annotation toolbar, and then bring us back to the presentation. So let me bring us back. So I was using this annotation toolbar right here, right? There's my trash can to clear my annotations. Stamp has the heart, drawing has shapes. I can change the colors of my annotations and so on. So again, my floating tray gives me the ability to click on new share, share something with you while I'm sharing, in this case, my presentation with you. So a seamless transition from one app to another is certainly an option for you, okay? So I wanted to move us along. I'm running a little short on time. I certainly apologize. Let's talk about the waiting room and then breakout rooms and polling, and we'll close out here. Waiting room, as I mentioned, when the session is up and running with the waiting room enabled, people will be seeing a blank screen like this for the most part, right? You get to customize this verbiage back over in your settings, but this is what students will see. Meanwhile, live in the session, these people have already been admitted, but the host is going to see that indicator up at top and in the participant icon. All right, sorry about that, everyone. I had an internet disconnect. So I apologize for that. Let me bring us back very quickly, and I certainly apologize for that. Certainly out of my control. Alrighty. So here's what I'm going to do. Give me a couple of seconds. I'm going to continue to present from my laptop. So give me a couple of seconds here, and I will take care of that for us in no problem. All right. So let me switch to a different camera. So now you're getting a much more different view. I was using a dual monitor there, and I had somehow lost connection to my modem. I've been having some issues here locally, so I apologize for that. Give me a couple of seconds. I'll bring us back to my presentation here. All right, and let's come back to this. There we go. All right, so let me continue to present to us, and then I'll close out our webinar here. So we were talking about the waiting room. I just simply wanted to point out that from that waiting room, as the host of the session, you're going to be able to see who's in that participant panel in that waiting room, right? When you click on admit, they're in the session with you. Until then, they're still hanging out in that waiting room. All right, wanted to talk about that. Let's move us into the participant panel. From that participant panel, you have the ability to manage your participants. You can mute them upon entry. You could lock your meeting. So a lot of those same things that were available for you from within the security icon are still there for you in this more option from your participant panel. So wanted to point that out to you. And then finally, let's move into the chat feature. So very simple feature here. If I click on chat, my chat panel pops up for me. And then of course, I can always send messages to attendees. I could also privately message an attendee if need be. And then if I click on this more option right here, this is going to allow me to save what took place in chat as the host. I can allow participants to be able to chat with no one, only the host, and so on. So all of these privileges are always available for you from within each panel, right? So yes, they might sound and feel a little overwhelming. Just know you don't have to use every single option, right? So just know where they are located. So inside of chat, yes, you can send messages to people, but two, if you click on this menu, right, the more option, you can use these as needed. The file feature allows you to transfer files to attendees. So if you wanted to make an assignment available, if you wanted to provide a certificate of completion or anything, notes, right, you can transfer files to your attendees. So by clicking on this, this allows you to browse in your computer and find a file that you want to share with your attendees, and they could download it to their computer system. Let's talk about the breakout rooms, all right? So breakout rooms, I'm gonna click on this icon here. In this scenario, the host is manually creating the rooms. Now, this is something I personally did not do. It was a matter of preference. I used to use this option here, automatically. So I would say, give me 6 rooms, automatically create the breakout rooms. And what happens is people are automatically placed into the breakout rooms. Now, they're not there just yet. They're just queued up. They're ready for me to set up some breakout room options, which are over here. I can certainly add a room if need be. In this scenario of the host manually creating the rooms, what's happening is they simply clicked on manually create the rooms, give me 2 rooms. So breakout room 1 and breakout room 2 are created. You need to click on assign in order to manually select your list of attendees and add them to breakout room 2, breakout room 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and so on. So to me, it was a little more cumbersome to do this. People will do this if they really want to handpick who do they want in breakout room 1, who do they want in breakout room 2, and so on. Whereas for me, I would just set it up to be the automatic approach, and then I would go through the options, right? So options allows me to move all participants into breakout rooms automatically. What this means is when I click on this button here, open all rooms, everyone is going to go to that room because this box is checked. If it's unchecked, your students have to click on a join button to get into that breakout room. And if they're not following my instructions, they might lag and not click on join. So this eliminates that scenario, and I simply will have the students immediately go to those breakout rooms. I used to have this box unchecked, allow participants to return to the main session at any time. With this box being unchecked, what happens is you must stay in that breakout room. You're not able to leave that breakout room and come back to the main and hang out. It would be no different if you just left that classroom and came back into the main and just kind of hung out, right? I need you to collaborate, and I encourage you to continue to participate working in that breakout room with your colleagues. So this box used to be unchecked in my scenarios. Breakout rooms close automatically after, and you could set that time up independently. So I used to set mine up for 30, 40 minutes. And then when that time is up, I get notified. A countdown after the closing breakout rooms would be, for my case, I would set it up to be 15 seconds. What happens is breakout rooms are done. You're going to return back to the main session in 15 seconds. And that gives them plenty of time to wrap up, say bye to each other. Hey, that was fun. I'll see you back in the main session. And then they come back, right? A couple of things. Remember, I mentioned that as the host, you can always join your own breakout rooms, right? So you open up your breakout room panel, and because they're already active, since you've opened the rooms, you can join a room. So right now in that scenario, the host was actually visiting a breakout room. If I leave that breakout room, I come back to the breakout room panel and I can join breakout room 2 and 3 and so on. There's an option here in the breakout room panel called broadcast a message to all. And if I click on that, I get to type up a message, click broadcast. People get to see that message in their breakout rooms. So students are able to, from within that breakout room, they can actually request your help. They can request your help. They click on a button in that breakout room. You get a message on your window and you simply join that room to provide support to them. Last but not least, polling, right? So in polling, what happens here is I'm going to click on my poll option, and then my poll panel appears for me. If I've created a poll in advance during that scheduling process, it's ready to go. I simply click on launch poll, and people are able to participate in that poll. Once the poll is complete, I can set it up to be, I'll open up this poll for a minute. And then after a minute has concluded, there's a timer in the poll. I close the poll and I could, vocalize the results of that poll or simply share the results of the poll with the participants, okay? All right, let's get ready to wrap up here. So I wanna provide a couple of things. Support and resources. So I've mentioned several times throughout the webinar, right, our support page. Please visit support.zoom.us. That is going to really help you with a lot of content, especially when it comes to breakout rooms. Those are something that you definitely want to practice with. If you want more details about registration, right, polling and all those good things, or just scheduling, right? You can use your search engine. There's quick start guides for you. There's video tutorials. If you move into the next bottom part of the support page, when you're first there, there's support topics. There's also the ability for you to sign up for training as well if you prefer, right? So all of these things are there for you. I'm going to make these resources available to you in your chat panel. So give me a couple of seconds and I'll bring those up for us. So I'm going to do something really quick for myself. And I'm going to get back to that extra monitor that I was using. And I'm going to move my content over. So give me a couple of seconds. I really, really appreciate you working with me here. And I certainly apologize for that hiccup. Let me go back to sharing with you. All right, and you should be able to see that slide there. And give me a couple of seconds. I'm going to bring up the links and provide those to you in your chat panel. And then I'll take a look at Q&A and start to answer some questions for us. Okay, so the links are coming through for you just now. And there are some really, really great resources there for you. I really, really do recommend. Some of these are going to branch you off to our blog site. If you don't mind actually subscribing to the blog, really, really great articles are produced all the time there at our blog site. So certainly at least take that into consideration, alrighty? So you have Zoom guides, you have external training, you have Zoom Summer Academy. That took place a couple of weeks ago, but that link is a great resource for you. And then last but not least, Zoom support during COVID-19, a great set of resources there for you for all of you, right? All right, let me take a look at Q&A. Again, thank you so much for your patience. I really do apologize. Most of you might be wondering, is that a Zoom issue or what is it? I'm on Wi-Fi, and I should have known yesterday. I had a little bit of a hiccup. Luckily, I was not in a webinar. I think there might be some construction taking place here in Oakland in my neighborhood. I'm not quite sure, but I had a little bit of downtime with internet connectivity. So best thing to do, learn from experience. I need to connect my laptop to an Ethernet cable back over to my cable, or I should say my modem, right? Because Wi-Fi is what I'm on right now, and there must have been some sort of a neighborhood hiccup, and it caused me to lose connection. All right. So with that being said, let me take a look at Q&A, all right? And if you can stay with me, cool. If you can't stay with me, remember that you'll be provided with a recording of yesterday's session. Luckily, I'm not recording this one. Let me take a look here. Okay, please demonstrate the breakout room option for smaller group tasks that I can pop in and out of to monitor and mentor. Great question, Matthew. So Zoom Webinar, the platform that I'm using today, does not provide breakout rooms. Only Zoom Meeting does. So that's why I merely have screenshots versus being able to actually send you to breakout rooms. However, one thing is, so let's rewind. I'm going to take us to my slide deck, and I'm going to take us back to that slide with breakout rooms, okay? And kind of re-explain a few things. One, when you click on your breakout room icon, first, I do recommend that you practice, okay? So do practice with breakout rooms. Let me switch over to a different camera. Wow, talk about, there we go. All right, now I'm back to my regular camera that I love to use versus my laptop camera. Okay, so breakout rooms, when you click on this option here, right? I personally used to just set it up depending on how many rooms you want. Let's just say you want 5 breakout rooms or 4. You can have 50, right? But let's just say 4. What's going to happen is that it will automatically calculate how many participants are in your session so that you'll see a number here, 4 participants per room, 5 participants per room. And I used to choose automatically. That way the rooms are number one, they're created for me by default. And 2, the students are automatically assigned to those breakout rooms. I'm not gonna worry about who's in what room, right? 2, before you open the room so that people now go off to those rooms, you wanna consider the options. So in options, set these up. And then when you're ready, I would probably verbalize instructions to everyone. So a good thing is to inform your attendees, your students, hey, this is a breakout room. This is what's going to happen. I'm going to send you to a virtual room and other people will be in there with you. You might even have your students watch tutorials with you on breakout rooms so that they understand the concept, right? I had to do that with my students because it wasn't clicking. And I said, okay, let's go out to Zoom. Let's watch a tutorial on what we're going to be doing in my class when it comes to this feature, breakout rooms. Okay. When you open up all the rooms, it is no different than sending those students out to that room, right? Go have fun. In order for you to join that room, all you have to do is you're always going to click on your breakout room panel. You can leave it up if you want, and then there's always that join button there for you, right? Or a link, I should say. You can only join one room at a time, but you can join a room and then you're immediately there with them. They'll see you on camera, they'll hear you on video, you'll see them, and it's like you're all in your kind of sub-own Zoom meeting while the main session is still up and running. Okay, that's how you join a breakout room as the instructor. No one is able to join another room. So you as the host are in complete control of the set of the breakout rooms, right? If Carol were to say, hey, I want to be in breakout room number 2, you can personally move her. You can click on her name and then move Carol to breakout room 2. That's fine. But a student is not going to say, I'm going to breakout room 2. I'm going to go to breakout 3 and see what's going on in there. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Let's take a look and see what more I can answer here. What's the best way to arrange a panel when there are 100 plus attendees? What level of subscription do you need? Great question. So if you find that your session is not necessarily going to be fully interactive, something like this webinar, and that it's more of a lecture, right? I'm presenting material to you. You might want to think about converting your meeting to a Zoom webinar. You can have 100 people act as panelists. And we actually do that in our real full large-scale webinars that we have either internally or externally, we'll have a lot of people participate as panelists. The best way to arrange a panel would be leveraging your colleagues or whoever you would like for those people to be helping in the webinar. Panelists are able to share content like the presenter. They could answer questions in Q&A. So sometimes I actually have colleagues join this webinar as panelists, and they help answer questions in Q&A while I present. They're responding to those questions and typing responses out. The level of subscription that you would need for that would definitely be a licensed account, and you can still have you can have up to 1,000 people as like a, some people just have 100 people in a webinar, or all the way up to 50,000. So it really all depends for you. Okay. Let's take a look here. Another question with regards to scheduling. Scheduling meetings using the desktop application at present does not provide the option to enable meeting registration. Correct. So when you are using the Outlook, Google Calendar, or the desktop application, you're only going to be able to go so far with the scheduling, meaning, yes, you'll get it on the books, right? But all those extra features like breakout rooms and registration and polling, those are available for you in the online account. So you would still have to tap into the online account to fine tune that meeting. Let's take a look and see what else I have. All right, looks like I'm losing connectivity again. So I will stay on board and see what else I can answer. Give me a couple of seconds and I will stop sharing. Okay, and I'm going to switch over to another camera. So back to my laptop here, and I'll open up the, woof, a lot of Ricardo there. All right, let me see what I can answer for us. What app do we download for Android phone? If you're talking about the desktop application, you'd be able to get that, I believe, downloaded for yourself onto your Droid. All right, I'm just going to stop video if you don't mind. Can you enlarge your PowerPoint while hosting? Yeah, I mean, there's always a zoom option for you. So you could certainly increase in PowerPoint. There's a zoom option. I can't imagine why you would not be able to do that. So yeah, you could do that. That's not an issue. Why can I not choose display up to 49 participants? If you're looking at your desktop application and that is not an option, you might want to, hopefully you're downloaded with the latest version, but you would probably want to look into your settings first. So go into your online account and look at settings, type up video, use Control F, right, to find something very quickly, and that will help you locate that feature for 49 participants. Otherwise, you may not be on the latest version of the desktop application. Let's see, when in a breakout, can host share Google Drives, while whiteboards, or a Word doc with the breakout? Okay, so great question. And the way it's posed, I think I know what you mean. So in a breakout session, okay, if I want to share something with students, it's only going to be happening in the main session, right? That breakout room has its own share option. So I'd have to actually go into that room and share something with students in each of those breakout rooms. I'm not able to broadcast something to breakout rooms with regards to sharing content with attendees. Now, I could certainly designate a student, right? Or I can have them take turns. I have to turn on the share option in my security icon so that in the breakout rooms, people are able to share content with each other. So in a breakout room, that share screen button is there, provided that you enable it back in the main session for participants. And then what I used to do it in my previous life is I would actually tell, I would randomly just designate a person per breakout room to be the lead. And I would say, Oscar, in breakout room number 1, you're going to be the lead. You're going to have the share button. You are responsible for clicking on share and bringing up a Google Doc and working with your team on, something like that. So that is certainly an option. But again, to answer your question, I, as the host, cannot share something from the main and it's then broadcasted. into the breakout rooms. Let's see. I don't have all the features you have shown so far. Is it my free version? Yes. So if you're on a free subscription, you would be, one of the things that I want to point out is you're limited to a 40-minute time frame, unless you have had the 40-minute time frame lifted as part of the educational option that we've provided. You're not going to have access to registration. You won't have access to polls, live streaming, and all that good stuff, right? But of course, you still have the ability to host meetings. You would have access to local recording. You have access to breakout rooms. Yeah, so the only thing that's technically not there for you is cloud recording, polling, let's see, what else? Registration, live streaming out to YouTube, and so on, okay? Let's see. Is there a way to ensure the panel speakers are always the main camera view for everyone? Again, that's more of a Zoom webinar versus Zoom meetings. But if there's several people on camera, right, presenting, you can actually pin camera. So that's something that you want to look into from our support site. Just look up keyword pinning video, and that will come back for you. I'm going to take 2 more questions here, and then I'll just close this out because I do want to take care of a few technical issues I'm having on my side, so I certainly apologize for that. Will the Q&A feature become available in Zoom meetings anytime soon? Great question. I don't have an answer for that personally. I know that it's been requested. It's probably, you know, something that engineers are aware of, I'm sure, but I don't have a time frame as to if that would become available, and if so, when. And then last question that I'll take here is, can I live broadcast a class onto YouTube? Yes, you could do that with a licensed subscription. All right, with that being said, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate your patience as I experience this technical difficulty here. If you prefer to just wait for the recording and kind of catch up, please feel free to do so. You'll get a follow-up email today, as a matter of fact, and that will direct you to a recording from yesterday, which was, of course, flawless. With that being said, I thank you for joining me in today's webinar. I apologize for the technical difficulties on my side. And with that being said, I hope that you have great, successful Zoom sessions with your audience. Probably a best practice is make sure that Wi-Fi is not too finicky. If you find that you prefer to just be on an Ethernet cable, which I'm certainly going to do, definitely take that in consideration. Alrighty. With that being said, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it with me, and I will see you again, I'm sure, in future Zoom webinars. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thank you for joining me today.